What's going on, boys and girls? We had another winning week last week. We went 4-0 on our picks last week. I gave you two dogs. They both hit. And I gave you, obviously, two favorites. They both hit. So we had an overall good week last week. Another fun card. I mean, that was actually a pretty good card. Little controversy. I feel like every card we have is a little bit of controversy. We'll get into some of that. Before we do get into that, to let you guys know on the front end of this, we're giving you the whole main card this week. I know a lot of you guys were complaining, why are you only giving two fights and picking two fights sporadically? This card, we're giving you the entire main card. So you guys cried about it. We guys heard you, and we are going to give you what you want. So, and it's a good card. A lot of fights on the main card. So we're going to go over the entire main card with you. I'll give you my picks. I'll give you my, if I have any bets that I do like, I'll obviously give you those. But before we get into that, let's go over just some of the things on the card. You guys got to stop crying, robbery. Yeah, I saw people crying robbery for the Jourdain fight, that he should have never got that. I don't know where you guys looked at that fight and saw like that wasn't a Jourdain win or how that was a robbery. Like, that was not a robbery in any way, shape, or form. I actually scored it for him, and I'm not being biased when I say that. He was my biggest bet on the board, and yes, it was greasy and it was tight and it was scary at certain points. But where you guys, like, not you guys, I'm just saying, if you look in the Twitter sphere and everything, people are, it's a robbery. The only fight that I would argue with that I thought should have gone the other way, and even though I picked her, and I picked her on this show, was JJ Aldridge. I personally thought JJ Aldridge, even though it was a super close fight, I personally thought it probably should have went the other way. I'm obviously not arguing because I picked her. So that went in our favor, but at least I'm honest about it. And I could say, yeah, I could see how you would argue that. The Jourdain fight, I don't see how you can even argue that. Like, where you don't see the path that Jourdain won that fight. I would say the proudest one of the night for me was Jai Herbert. I mean, the world was on Nalo. And I told you guys about how this guy, comes from a different kind of background. He doesn't need to fight. He doesn't really take fighting super, super seriously. He picks and chooses his spots and stuff like that. So, they were all things I did not like, not to mention he's not proven. And the kind of matchup with that was exactly what I said. Like, he kind of lives behind that jab. He doesn't have the proper arsenal to kind of hunt the proper way. He either overcommits or undercommits. He completed overcommitted to Jai Herbert, and Jai Herbert capitalized. So, overall, really, really good week in the lab. We had, we hit every bet except for one. We're going to try to move it to 3 in a row. And like I said, now we're going to do the main card for you guys. And Dayton just missed his dog of the week last week, which was a monster of a fight. I mean, that was a good. But Dave, did you watch that fight?
I saw the highlights of it after. Lesniakova didn't look too bad.
She looked good. She looked good. It was, believe it or not, bro, like some of the fights on that card that you weren't expecting to be good, you were expecting to be boring. Like, I wasn't expecting that to be like a high-paced, really fun fight. It was a super fun fight, and it was really by inches that she lost that fight. It was just like, Croden got on top of her at the end, kind of stole the round, kind of beat her up, but she was in it, man. She was in that fight until the end. So, it wasn't a bad pick at all. So we'll see if you have something on tap. I haven't really talked to you about it, so we'll see if you do have on tap. But this is a card that I'm excited about, and I'm very excited about this main event. So we're going to jump right into it for you guys. We got Aljamain Sterling versus Youssef Zalal. You got Aljo now coming at plus 102. And Youssef Zalal is at minus 122 over another 4.5 rounds is minus 185. I'm going to start off by saying this. I already pulled the trigger on this at plus 125 for Aljo. So the line obviously got steamed a little bit. So now you got to play with a little, cat and mouse game going down the stretch. Do you want to wait? Do you want to see if Aljo kind of goes back the other way, if money comes in on Zalal, or is sharp money going to start rolling in on Aljo? And now you're going to have to get him at minus money. So now you're in a tough spot. So now this is a situation where I would wait and see where the line goes. I got it a little bit earlier. I had a feeling that this thing was going to start smartening up, as I call it, smartening up, and it did. So now you're looking at almost even money here. So we got a plus 125, which is nice. But I would tell you guys, keep an eye on this line. When I look at this fight, this is another situation where, I'm going to pull my bias out of this, but I got to just talk about it a little bit here. Aljo has won me the most money in any UFC fighter in probably a decade. I never bet against this guy. Sometimes I won't bet the fight, but I never bet against him. I don't know where people have this thing with him that he's not good, or that he's, he's gotten certain kinds of treatment or decisions, went his way, or the whole thing with the Peter Yan thing that was, he was faking it. Like, people have such a disdain, hate for him. And I really don't get it. Like, I really, really don't get it. These aren't things that he asked for. He didn't ask to get, cheap shotted like that in that fight. He didn't he doesn't go down to the judges and start talking to them about certain situations. There's certain fights that nobody talks about that this guy probably should have won. I believe he won the Evloev fight. If you watch that fight over and over again and you really score that card, he probably should have won that fight, but nobody talks about that. They're only talking about, him getting sparked by Sean O'Malley. They're talking about the Peter Yan saga. They don't talk about how he choked out Corey Sandhagen like this. Like, they don't talk about what a great athlete this guy is, what a great wrestler he is, what a great Brazilian jiu-jitsu artist he is, black belt under Matt Serra, great back take. The only downfall with him, I would say a little bit, is sometimes that his decision making isn't the greatest. He does tend to get a little bit tired down the stretch. But overall, like, Aljo is a very tough fighter to emulate in the gym. He's got a very tricky style. That's why they call him, Funk Master and stuff like that. Very good athlete, very sharp. He's got decent power. I don't like his striking overall. That I will tell you. Like, there's certain elements of his striking that I don't like. And it's that he does lunge in a lot. He tends to kind of really slide in a little too much. And when you slide in too much, you expose your chin, and that's how you get caught. So there are certain elements of his game that I would change, but this is a guy who continuously comes in and continues to show out and have a good account of himself and win fights, and people just hate him for whatever reason. I don't know. There's certain guys on the roster I personally don't like for my own reasons, but people just continuously hate this guy, and I don't understand that. When there's money involved, like, you got to take that hate away. Like, you got to take that hate away, and you got to start, looking at the element of the fight and looking at the element of your pocket. And now we look at Youssef Zalal and we say, this is a younger guy. He's 29 years old. He obviously was in the UFC for a short stint at one time, left, came back, and now look at what he's doing. The guy's ripping through competition. He's subbing people. He wants the submission record. He's good on the feet. He's got good kickboxing, good range management. He sets a good pace. He trains in altitude. He's got all the momentum on his side. He's got all the confidence on his side. And that's all a great thing. These guys trained together back in 2017, 2018, and Youssef Zalal looked up to Aljo, admittedly so, for a long time. And this is his opportunity now to go in there and kind of take the baton from the person that he, not emulated, but kind of respected and maybe in his own little way kind of idolized a little bit. And if you look at his level of opposition that he's fought, he beat Josh Emmett. Good win, submits Josh Emmett, but he's older. Beat Calvin Kattar, traditional striker, not a grappler, a guy who's beat up, weathered, and older. Jack Shore, a guy who I thought was going to be a little bit better than he is, but really didn't pan out. So that Jack Shore name doesn't really age well with me. Errands, Billy Quarantillo, a kid who is going to push a pace on you, and you got to beat him up before he starts fighting. I mean, he's got some really good wins, good names under his belt, but as far as where they are in their career at certain aspects, you got to kind of question that a little bit. So my question is he really that good? Is he really on this crazy run where he's like coming into his own and he's hitting his prime, and now we're going to see the real Zalal? Or is this a little bit of touch of overachievement? That's where I'm sitting with this right now. And when I look at this fight, I got to say to myself, where does he beat this fight if conditioning isn't an issue? Okay, because we know he trains in altitude. We know Aljo's 36. He's going to be 37. We know he's been through some wars. We know that he has a tendency to fade a little bit. And Zalal, training in altitude, younger, he sets a good pace. Probably not going to gas out, even though he hasn't really gone 5 rounds as much as Aljo has. Where does he win this fight? Do you think he's going to knock him out? Well, he's only got 4 knockouts in his career, so it's not like he's this power puncher. Where he's going to, put you to sleep. He already said he wants the submission record, so he wants to submit Aljo. He's admittedly, now whether he does that, I don't know. Does he submit him? No, he's not going to submit Aljo. Aljo's never been submitted. My opinion is I think Aljo's the better wrestler. I think Aljo's the better grappler. I think he's got the better back take. So I think in the beginning of this fight, I think this is going to be Aljo doing Aljo things, because he's going to have to figure Aljo out a little bit. He's going to have to figure out the style a little bit. You got a guy in front of you who you respected for so long, could be a little bright light, big city action going on. And then it's going to be up to Aljo to kind of capitalize on a couple of those rounds, maybe get a back take, not expend too much energy, lace them up, get that control time, bank some minutes, win some rounds, because then if you start fading, you're going to have to get on your bike and you're going to have to kind of survive at that point and hope that you banked enough to kind of win the fight in the downstretch, because that's where I see this fight going. I see Aljo kind of on the front end. And the longer this fight goes, I think, Youssef Zalal is going to start finding his spots and probably start having a little success, maybe putting Aljo on the back foot. Aljo's usually the aggressor. He's the one who's usually pushing forward, where Zalal is usually the one waiting for a counter. Now, if you get two guys that respect each other, that both kind of want to grapple each other, they can kind of rule each other out, and you can have a boring match where people are just looking for their spot. At that point, the round goes to the guy that's pursuing. The guy that's going around for pursuing, even if there's not much going on, even if there's 4 punches that are thrown in the entire round, which isn't going to happen. But if that's the case, the round goes to the pursuer, and he's going to be the hunter in this fight. Aljo will be the one hunting until maybe he starts slowing down. Zalal starts finding his spots and starts backing him up. So this is going to be a chess match in conditioning, as far as how much who's going to be able to kind of more of Aljo's end. Is he going to be able to sustain a pace that can last 5 rounds? Enough to kind of not start losing ground down the stretch. Is there a possibility that there's a submission early on in this fight? Yes, I would say the possibility would probably lean towards Aljo more with his back take. We know that Zalal can be taken down. We know Aljo's back take is unbelievable. And when they're dry, if he locks them up with something, who knows? Maybe something can happen. I just don't see Zalal knocking him out. I don't see Zalal submitting him. And I think that he's going to have to come back in this fight to kind of win the minutes and win the rounds, to kind of edge it out and maybe steal the fight down the stretch. And I don't want to count on that. I want to count on the guy that I know that he's fought the high level of opposition. Yeah, he's a little bit older, but he also knows this is his last shot. At 36, 37 years old, if you want a shot at gold, like, this is it. You can't take another L. You take another L, you go back to the bottom of the ladder. You got to work your way up. At that point in time, you're just getting older. You're not getting younger. You're not getting faster. You just, the weight cuts aren't getting any easier. So this is a spot where every fight to Aljo is a championship fight, if he's really serious about getting the strap, getting another strap. So I just like Aljo in this spot. Like I said, he's won me the most money in the past decade when it comes to choosing a fighter and picking a fighter and laying wagers on him. And I can't go against him in this spot. Like, to me, this is a do or die situation for him, as in terms of not fighting another day, not getting another fight, but in terms of like a title run, this is it for him. I think that, he has to win every fight from here on out to get to that spot. And I think he's going to be very well prepared for this. I know that he's training with some good high level guys, Juan Archuleta and stuff like that. So I think he's going to be very well prepared. He looks like he's in really good shape. That picture that you guys see on the internet, by the way, where he looks really diced, that's from 2002. That's not a recent picture. So I know there was a picture that I think he posted that was floating around. They're like, bro, look how shredded Aljo is, like 2 weeks out. It's not, that's him from 2022. That's not him right now. So, but he's always in shape. Aljo is always in shape. So I think this is going to be a really good, interesting fight. But I'm going the dog here, man. I'm going Aljo. And I like I said, I took him at plus 125. He's closing in on even money right now. The way it's looking, he's going to probably close as the favorite. So we got him early. Still a dog to us. So give me Aljo here, either via submission early or a decision late. And that's what we're riding with, boys. All right, next fight, which is an interesting one, too. This is Norma Dumont versus Joselyne Edwards, the battle of the fucking booties. That's not Norma Dumont, by the way. But she's got a nice ass too. So this is like the battle of the booties. Both Norma Dumont's got the dump truck and Joselyne Edwards got the dump truck, and minus 225 for Norma Dumont, plus 190 for Joselyne Edwards. Over and under 2.5 is minus 400. I agree with that. I don't agree with these odds. That I'll tell you right out of the gate. I definitely don't agree with these odds. Norma Dumont is a girl who, she's really, really good. But she sometimes does make some really boneheaded decisions in the cage. Like, she can get caught up in a situation where she's winning the first round. She's winning the first round pretty seamlessly, right? And then you think, okay, more of the same. Give me more of the same. And then what she does is she comes out and she completely flips her game plan to something else. And you're like, what are you doing? Like, what? Why? Who told you to do that? Did your corner tell you to do that? Is this just something you're experimenting with? And when you watch her from fight to fight, she does it often. Like, she will go in, she will have success on one avenue, and then all of a sudden she'll come back out. Instead of staying the course, she'll try and experiment with something else, and all of a sudden she'll start losing traction. When you look at Joselyne Edwards is somebody right now who is kind of on a burn, man. I mean, she looks fantastic. This is a girl who was a training partner for Valentina Shevchenko. So obviously she's got good training behind her. She's got a chip on her shoulder, which I really like about her. And a lot of the things that she did in the past that she didn't, that she's, she's not doing anymore. And when I say a lot of things in the past, I mean the holes in her game, the things that I didn't like about her. There's situations where she had the opportunity to kind of capitalize on advantageous situations, and she just wouldn't. She would kind of stall. She didn't have that aggression about her. It was almost like her confidence wasn't there. Now she's got a chip on her shoulder. Now she's coming in, she's throwing hands, she's going for takedowns when she needs them. She's got a nasty ground and pound. She's going for submission. She's got a lot of momentum on her side right now. I think this is a really close fight. I really, really do. I think there's a really good matched up fight. From a female perspective fight, you can't ask for much more. I mean, this is a fight where they just match up really, really well. Norma Dumont is violent when she wants to be. Joselyne Edwards has a mean streak in her right now. So there could be a situation where one of these girls look like a minus 400. And then there could be a situation where Norma Dumont's line just looks terrible. Like it should be a minus 110, minus 110. So I'm going to lean Norma Dumont here. I'm not happy about it. I'm not super confident in it. And I don't like the odds. Like I said, I wouldn't go betting that line. I wouldn't go putting that in a parlay. I would look for some kind of a prop, if anything. Maybe like if you wanted Norma Dumont plus over 1.5 or somewhere along those lines. But I think Joselyne Edwards very live in this fight. Like I said, there's something to be said about confidence and momentum. There's something to be said about some of the mistakes that Norma Dumont does make. And like I said, Joselyne Edwards is a surgeon right now, so it wouldn't shock me at all. But I'm going to go with Norma Dumont. I'm going to go with Norma Dumont by decision. Next fight, we have Rafa Garcia versus Alexander Hernandez. We got Rafa Garcia plus 110. We got Alexander Hernandez minus 130. Now, I got a love-hate relationship with this kid. I'll just come right out of the gate and say that. Alexander Hernandez was a kid that when he was coming into the UFC, he was fighting Beneil Dariush. He was coming in on short notice. I don't know if you guys remember that. He was coming in on short notice, and I remember watching his film. And this was like a couple nights before I had to get the slate out and everything like that. There was something about him that it resonated with me. I was listening to some of his interviews. I was watching his film, watching how explosive he is, how athletic he was. And I was like, there's something to be said about Dariush's demeanor where he is just like kind of cool and collective. He kind of works his way into the fight. And I said, this is the wrong kid to do that with, because if he comes in and he doesn't have those cage jitters and he just explodes and catches Dariush cold, he's going to knock Dariush out. So I picked Alexander Hernandez in that fight, and that blew up the DraftKings slate. I mean, we all cashed in for a ton of money because of that, because everybody was on Dariush and nobody was on Hernandez. So it kind of made me a fan of him a little bit. And the more I listened to his interviews and stuff like that, one thing about me, if you guys are members of the site or not, and if you're not a member of the site, come to the madlabmma.com, please. You guys will have a great time over there. We got some real sharp bettors in there, not only myself. And also, please like the show, comment below, subscribe, give to your friends to watch, and let's get this show popping a little more. But when you look at Alexander Hernandez and you listen to the interview, one thing that goes a long way with me is his intelligence. He's an intelligent kid. He talks very well. You could see his mind's in the right place, but he started to buy into his own juice a little bit, and he started getting very cocky. His press conferences got very kind of cringeworthy, even though they were in like an intelligent manner. They were still like, all right, bro, calm down, kid. You haven't beat anybody. Then he started getting humbled. He got humbled by Cowboy Cerrone. And now I started kind of buying out a little bit, because I'm like, this kid's becoming a victim now of the big lights. Now he thinks he's who he is because he knocked out Dariush, and now it's all coming crumbling forward. And the thing that bothered me about it the most was that I knew this kid had talent. Like I knew this kid was a talented kid. I knew he had upside, but he had to have the right people around him. Like you have to have the right people around you, whether it's girlfriends, whether it's friends, whether it's your coaches, your camp, your training partners. Like you got to have the right people around you to let you know, like, listen, on any given night, you could lose. I mean, look what happened with Michel Pieta when he fought that kid. He was the biggest favorite on the card, and the kid came out and beat him, as a major underdog. We never heard from that kid again. So it happens all the time. So as his fights went on, he would come in, he would look really, really good. Like first round, he would win. He was sticking his jab. He was, strong, looking for wrestling. But as the fight would grow older, and you'll notice this now that I'm telling you this, he doesn't have a poker face. He does not have a poker face in any way, shape, or form. When he gets tired, he shows it on his face. When he's hurt, he shows it in his body language on the face. Like Alexander Hernandez just has this innate ability to let you know, I'm dying. Like I'm dying here. He starts skirting the cage. His mouth is wide open. He almost looks like he's concerned. He's not firing back like he once was. He pretty much tells you, look, I'm on a platter right now. I'm on one leg. You really want to take me out, you could take me out. And that's one thing that I will say about his game that I can't stand, that he's got no poker face. He seemed to make some adjustments after his split decision loss to Damon Jackson. He beat Austin Hubbard, beat Kurt Holloway, beat Chase Hooper, knocked out Carlos Diego Ferreira. So he's on a little 4-fight win streak now. So now he's got momentum on his side. The only thing that concerns me about that is he buying into himself again. Is he going to stay humble? Is he going to come in? Is he going to fight and do his job and understand like a 5-fight win streak means a lot? Or is he going to come out and say like, I'm on a 4-fight win streak now and I'm going to go back to that braggadocious kid that I once was? Rafa Garcia is a guy you can't do that with. Rafa Garcia is a guy where I think Alexander Hernandez is better than him everywhere, from a technical perspective, from an athletic perspective, from a power perspective, from a wrestling perspective. If you really check all the boxes, Alexander Hernandez to me is better than Rafa Garcia anywhere. The one place that he's not better than him is toughness. Rafa Garcia will be in your face. Rafa Garcia is durable. So if you put it on Rafa Garcia, or Alexander Hernandez is having success with Garcia and he can't get him out of there, and all of a sudden he starts showing that poker face and he's backing up, you could bet your ass that Rafa Garcia is going in for the hunt. And that's what scares me about this fight. It's not he's going to get outworked, or he's going to get out wrestled, or get out grappled, or he's going to get knocked out. It's Rafa Garcia is that guy who, despite all of his abilities, which aren't bad, Rafa Garcia is a good fighter, but he's not a great fighter. And he does have holes, and he can be beat, and he's not the fastest guy in the world, and he's not the most athletic guy in the world, but he brings a toughness about him where he knows he's durable, he knows he's got good cardio, he knows he could push forward, and those are the guys that kind of break Alexander Hernandez. Billy Quarantillo did it to Alexander Hernandez. That's how he broke him. He broke him late. When Alexander Hernandez loses, he loses by being broken late. Rafa Garcia is a guy that can do that. I'm not going to bank on that, though. I'm going to buy into this win streak a little bit. With Alexander Hernandez, and I'm going to pick him to win this fight. I wouldn't be shocked if he knocks him out. Everybody can be knocked out. Garcia has been knocked out before. Not an easy task, but Alexander Hernandez cracks. He does crack. So there's something to be said about that. But I'm going to lean his way. I'm going to give him the nod here. I'm going to give him one more chance. He's proved enough to me on a 4-fight win streak after I started doubting him again. So give me Alexander Hernandez. I'm going to be safe with, I'll say Alexander Hernandez, 29-28 decision here. All right, we move on. Davey Grant versus Adrian Martinetti. You got Davey, old man Grant, -125. You got Martinetti +105. Bro, if you guys haven't seen the Martinetti versus Vologden fight from the Contender Series, you have to watch that. You guys know I always brag about the Mike Davis and Sadiq Youssef fight, what a cracking fight that was. And it was still the most cracking fight in Contender Series history. If you've never watched that fight with Sadiq Youssef and Mike Davis, you got to watch that fight. There's nothing like it. I mean, these guys were hitting so hard, you felt it through the TV, to the point where Mike Davis even said in the corner at one point in time, he's like, this guy hits really fucking hard. And his corner was like, I don't care. You got to get in there and you got to fight. But this was a close second, man. Martinetti and Vlog. This was a really good fucking fight. And which made it really interesting was that none of these guys had any kind of defense. A little concerning. It's fun to watch. But when you're landing 120 significant strikes to the head and 60 or 70 to the body, that's telling me in 15 minutes you don't have an inkling of defense. On one side, you have Martinetti landing 120. I'm sorry. On one side, you got Vologden landing 120 head strikes and like 60 body strikes. And on the other side, you got Martinetti landing 100 head strikes and like 60 body. Like it was absurd the amount of shots that these guys were taking, but because there was just no defense. Like there was nothing that you could view and be like, wow, it was a good bob and weave, or he was moving his head well, or nothing. Like when he would put Vologden in a collar tie, it was almost like a Muay Thai drill. Like he was just kneeing him 10 times in a row. Vologden wasn't doing none. Then Vologden comes back. He starts hitting him with shot. Martinetti's not doing it. They proved to us, yeah, that they're super, super durable and they could take a fucking beating. But that's not going to last long. Like you need some kind of element of defense. And that was just and he was fighting a guy, Vologden, who's very small for the division, has to really overextend and lunge forward to hit you. And he still got hit by 120 shots. Like that's something you got to think about. When you look at Davey Grant now, this is a guy who's pushing 40 years old. How do you not love this guy? I mean, this guy is so fun to watch. He's always game. He's always going to fight for your money. He's got a submission game. He's got a good striking game. He's willing to engage in wars with you. He's willing to have a technical fight with you. Like there's not much that you could say about Davey Grant that's negative. He's a good guy outside of the cage. Like Davey Grant is a really good fighter to have on the roster. But at the end of the day, there comes a point in time where there's certain things that your body just can't do anymore. And I don't know if he can go in that kind of a war. Like, I don't know if Davey Grant can sustain that kind of a war. If he was in that fight, whether it was Vologden was in there or Martinetti was in there with him, and they were in that kind of a war, I don't know if Davey Grant would be able to sustain that kind of a war again. Like that was a war, man. Like these guys were beating the shit out of each other. Like I said, no defense. You're getting hit with 120 shots to the head alone. At 39, 40 years old, like is Davey Grant going to be able to sustain something like that? Because that's what this kid's going to bring. He's going to allow Davey Grant to have his spots. Davey Grant's going to have his success in certain elements of this fight. But is he going to be able to sustain a 15-minute pace that this kid's going to put on, just all offense all the time? The collar ties and knees and just everything at the kitchen sink. Is Davey Grant at that age going to be able? Is his body going to be able to hold up to that? I'm personally going to say no. Listen, maybe he could surprise us. Davey Grant has surprised us numerous times. Hold on, guys. Davey Grant has surprised us numerous times. I just, like I said, I'm going with the younger guy here. I was actually all in on Davey Grant when I first saw this fight. And then when I went back and I watched that Vologden fight, I was like, how can I pick against this kid? Even though, like I said, he's going to give Davey Grant plenty of opportunities. And maybe that's why the line is so close, because they know this kid is a defensive liability, and Davey Grant knows how to capitalize. He's veteran. He's technical. He can crack. He can grapple. He's got a lot of things at his disposal, but I just can't see him sustaining a pace like that anymore at this career. So I'm going to go with Martinetti here to get the job done. And like I said, I love Davey Grant, but this is going to be a rough go for him. All right, we move on. Montel Jackson against Hani Barcelos. Let's go to story time about Montel Jackson. -175 for Montel Jackson, +150 for Hani Barcelos. I love Hani Barcelos. I'm going to tell you a short story about both of these guys. So Hani Barcelos, a while ago, this was a guy who I used to literally scream on the top of my lungs why they wouldn't give this guy a main card spot. Like, this guy was on a streak. He was winning fights. He was fun. He was exciting. But the UFC just would put him against these like transplants that like didn't move the needle for him. And I could never figure out, why didn't they ever give this guy his due? Now, as you get older, he's kind of past his window. He's going to have his moments. He's going to have his moments where he has his great showings and he's going to upset some people, and for sure. But he's 38 years old now. How much more does he have left in the tank at the pace that he fights? He fights at a very chaotic pace. Now, yeah, he's on a 4-fight win streak. He beat Ricky Simone, beat Cody Garbrandt, upset Peyton Talbot, Christian Quinones. So he's on a little streak here. But at 38 years old, that pace that he puts on, that wrestling pace, that, high volatility in his striking, like, how long can you do that for at 38 years old? Maybe he could do it a lot longer than I think. But you got to start factoring that in. A lot of things that you guys got to look at with these fighters is, as they get older, what are they doing? What kind of pace are they setting? What kind of style do they have? Is it conducive, and does it play in concert with their age? Now, if you got a guy who's chinny, who's been knocked out 4, 5, 6 times, down the stretch, but ultimately he's a grappler and he starts going back to his grappling game at 38 years old, then you could say, okay, well, he's protecting his chin. He's finding these outlets to kind of, utilize his longevity. But if you got a pace like Hannibal Barcelos, where, you have a high volatility wrestling, but you also have very high volatility in your striking and you're in and out and you're moving all over the place, like eventually your timing is going to be milliseconds off, seconds off. And all it takes is a hair to step on the wrong landmine and you're getting knocked out. And the one guy that can absolutely do that is Montel Jackson. This guy has power in both hands. His hands are absolutely humongous. He is going to have a significant reach advantage in this fight, almost a 10-inch reach advantage in this fight. And the crazy thing about Montel Jackson is, I had a little inside track with him when he first came into the UFC, and people were talking about his genetics and his athletic ability and all these other things. But the one thing that they really spotlighted was his wrestling, how good his wrestling was, and how in the training room he's throwing guys like Tyron Woodley around. And obviously this was back when Tyron Woodley was somebody, and I was like, really? And then he came to the UFC and I'm like, I don't see it. Like, I don't see it. Like, if anything, like, people are able to take him down and control him on the ground. Like, where is this great wrestling? And it's crazy to me because Montel Jackson is one of those athletes where you want to walk up to him and you want to grab him by the fucking throat and you want to shake him and be like, bro, what is wrong with you? You have all these genetics. You got all this athletic ability. You got all this God-given power. You got hands the size of milk trucks. Why do you go in there sometimes and you just look like you don't want to be there? Like, you get taken down, you're looking at the clock, you're sitting there like this. It's like no desperation. He's got no desperation in his game. But then there are nights where he comes in and he's locked in. He's taking the center of the cage. He's not allowing you to own any of the real estate. He's hitting you with shots. He's hitting you with jabs, and boom. And, there you go. Then you get to Montel Jackson that you were like, oh, this is the guy who I expect to see. And then he comes back in another fight and he goes and all of a sudden he's fucking looking at the lights. He's seeing who's eating hot dogs in the third fucking row of the 300s. It's like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? So it's like, it's more along the lines is, what Montel Jackson are we going to get here? Like, are we going to get the Montel Jackson that's looking to see what people are eating in the 300s? Or are we going to get the Montel Jackson that's going to stand his ground and fight? I think Hannibal Barcelos is going to be a very popular pick this week with good reason. Like, with good reason. I would not shit on anybody for pulling the trigger on Hannibal Barcelos, but I have a feeling he's going to get knocked out. I don't know why I got this feeling. I have a feeling that Montel Jackson is going to catch him with a shot coming in, and he's going to knock Hannibal Barcelos out. And it could be a situation where Hannibal Barcelos is winning until he's not anymore. It could be a situation where the first round he comes out, he's taking them down, and Montel Jackson's looking to see who's eating fucking popcorn and who's eating hot dogs, and then all of a sudden, you're like, this is it. He's fucking Montel's done, and then he comes back and he doesn't even do much, but he just catches fucking Hannibal Barcelos walking in on a shot. I just keep visualizing it in my mind. All week I've been visualizing it in my mind. Like, I wanted to pick Barcelos. I was like, I'm going to pick Barcelos, probably going to bet Barcelos. And then I just kept getting these things. I'm like, I have a feeling this is a trap. Like, they're going to bait everybody in to bet Barcelos and be so high on Barcelos and look at the run that he's on. He's upsetting guys and then he's going to get caught. So I'm going Montel Jackson here. I'm going to go Montel Jackson by knockout. And like I said, I would not fault you at all if you're in the comments right now and you're saying you're fucking crazy. Barcelos is going to run roughshod on him. I'm not going to argue with you. Like, I saw that all week. But when I have these gut feelings like this, I can't ignore them. You know what I mean? I just can't ignore them. I can't sit there and just ignore it and be like, I'm going to ignore it all week. I was thinking about him getting knocked out. I was visions in my mind of how he's going to get knocked out, what part of the ring he's going to get knocked, cage is going to get knocked out, but I'm going to fucking ignore it. Not going to ignore it. So I'm going to say Montel Jackson by knockout, but like I said, Hannibal Barcelos is live. But I will tell you this right now, from a DraftKings perspective, I think Barcelos is going to be one of the dogs that's going to get a lot of fucking love. And although you should give him some love in some lineups, I would not avoid Montel Jackson, because if he does get a knockout, that can kind of flip the table on everybody. All right. We move on to the first fight of the main card, which is Marcus Buchecha versus Ryan Superman. I don't even know if I want to call him Superman anymore. What the hell should we call him? Should we call him fucking first round merchant Spann? Because that's what he is. You got Buchecha minus 145, and you have Ryan Spann plus 125. Got the over and under here is plus 135. The under is minus 155. Now, I'm not high on Buchecha. I'm not high on these real high pedigree guys that come in and, they got all these accolades and they got these Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, especially Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu backgrounds. When they come in with these super high pedigree Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu backgrounds and stuff like that, like the Mackenzie Derns of the world, Buchechas of the world, Rodolfo Vieira's in the world, like that kind of pedigree, I'm always like that. I mean, what do you think? The fuck, these fighters were born yesterday? You don't think these guys are training some kind of semblance of BJJ, whether it's defensively, whether it's a completely different game. Like it's a completely different game. You got to remember, like in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and all these accolades and all these, medals, and it's very impressive, super impressive. But these guys are wearing gis. There's no elbows being thrown. There's no, the holds are different. The grabs are different. They don't got to worry about getting punched in the face. They don't got to worry about their legs getting kicked out. Like they got one thing to worry about. They got to worry about grappling and getting top control or putting you in a situation where they can grab a limb. The MMA is different. Good luck being on your back and trying to like hook up an armbar or a triangle, with a guy coming down, raining elbows to your nose, and you got to bust the nose. You got blood fucking coming out of your nose into your mouth. Your eyes are watering, and good luck. It's a completely different animal. So like when I look at that, I'm like, okay, now if I get a guy with a really good high pedigree striking background, that's a little bit different because there's grounds you can't make up for that. If you get a guy who's got a really good striking background and has good takedown defense and knows how to keep you on the feet, you're going to get lost. The opponent's, if he doesn't have that kind of striking, he's going to get lost in translation. You're going to step on a mine. You're going to be baited in these traps. Like you're gonna, you don't probably know like proper ways to L step and stuff like that. So, it's a little bit different. But now you got a guy, Marcus Buchecha, who's coming in, who's a very high pedigree grappler, and if he takes you to the ground, you're going to be in trouble. So what do you basically got to do at that point? You got to kind of keep it on the feet, and if you could shuck his takedowns, you could tire him out, and you can start piecing him up. Ryan Spann is a guy that can do that, but Ryan Spann is a first round merchant. That's what he is. He really is. This is a guy who will come out and look great in the first round, and then maybe he'll finish you, maybe you'll finish him, but once it gets into that second round, you can almost bet a lot of your money that the fight's going to end one way or another, whether he's going to get finished or he's going to finish somebody. And I just don't trust him at this point in his career. This is the guy who's got serious dedication issues. This is the guy who his nutritionist at one time came out and literally said, like, we have to work like potato chips and stuff into this guy's fucking diet. Like they got to like work junk food into his diet for him to stay intrigued and disciplined. Like he has an issue with discipline. He has an issue with structure, and it shows in some of his fights. Like he gasses out or he just doesn't look right. The one thing that he does do now, this is the one path I'm going to give him. Listen, he can catch Buchecha coming in, no doubt. He can catch him coming in with a shot because, like I said, Buchecha's striking isn't there yet. And I don't think Buchecha's cardio is there yet if he's in this long-winded fight. I don't think Spann's is either, so let's call them even Steven there. But I will say this. This would be a situation where I could see Ryan Spann catching him. Buchecha goes for some takedowns, doesn't get him. He does get, lit up a little bit on the feet. The fight starts gaining a little ground, going into the deeper waters, and now your shots start becoming labored. How many times have we seen that? We've seen these Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys shooting from 10 feet away, and then all of a sudden they get labored. Everything's sloppy. Everything's telegraphed. And the one thing that Ryan Spann has is he's got a nasty guillotine from the standing position. He's got nasty neck series. So I could see a situation where Buchecha maybe runs into a neck series. Now, I know what you're saying. You're going, oh, what are you talking about? It's fucking Buchecha. He's not going to submit him. Well, Rodolfo Vieira got submitted by Fluffy Hernandez. Do you think on any given night out of 100 grappling matches that Fluffy would ever submit Rodolfo Vieira? Never. Would never happen. It would be it would be plus 20,000 for Fluffy Hernandez to submit him in a straight up BJJ match. But this isn't BJJ. This isn't a situation where, you're getting what you want. You're not starting from a bottom position. You're not ultimately both trying to get each other to the ground where eventually you're going to end up on the ground. You're trying to get something that you need or else you're probably going to lose. And at that point, you start becoming desperate. You start becoming labored. You start becoming tired. Your lungs start filling up with fire. So that would be the situation. But I just don't trust Ryan Spann to be that guy. I just don't. I don't trust Ryan Spann to be that guy. So I'm gonna go with Buchecha. I'm gonna say Muchecha. I'm gonna say Buchecha does get the Muchecha. That's like muchacho. I'm gonna fucking call him that. Fucking Marcus Buchecha. Is gonna be able to get him to the ground, and if he does get him to the ground, I think he's gonna be able to, kind of not fold Ryan Spann, but I think Ryan Spann will end up like giving him his back or doing something stupid where it looks like he's kind of quitting when he's not. He's just kind of doing something stupid. So give me Buchecha by sub. But like I said, there is a situation where this maybe in the uncharacteristic waters, it goes a little later. He starts getting sloppy, and Ryan Spann maybe locks something up or catches him with something. But give me Buchecha, probably under 1.5 rounds to get the sub here. And that'll be it. All right. So we covered the whole main card, guys. I hope that you're a little bit more happy with that, other than 2 fights. Like I said, last week, we swept the board. We'll try to do it again for you guys this week, a little bit harder with the entire main card. But we're going to bring in Dayton now because I'm very curious to see who he has as a dog. I think I know, but I don't know. Let's see. What do you got, Dayton?
All right. I think you do know. And I talked about it earlier before we did the show. It's going to be Adrian Martinetti.
Bro, I like him, dude.
I like him. You kind of entice me a little more. He's all offense apparently, so I'd like that, especially against the Davey Grant, especially where you said his age might not be able to keep up anymore. So let's see if Martinetti can put him to the cage.
Yeah, bro. If you have a chance, watch that fight, dude. Watch that fight, Vlogdin and Martinetti. I mean, what a fight, dude. I mean, what a fight. I literally watched it like 2 times this week. I sent it to like a couple people. I was like, bro, did you watch this fight? It was just a war. It was an absolute war. And like I said, maybe Davey Grant can stop him in his tracks before it gets to that point. But if they get into a war, a greasy war like that, I just don't see him holding up, dude. I don't see him holding up. I think like Martinetti, like it would have finished. I think he maybe puts him in like a collar tie and just, catches him with a knee, hurts him with a knee, and just finishes him off. So I'm going to even do bolder than that. I'm going to say Martinetti's going to finish him inside the distance. So let's put that on the board too. But all right, boys and girls, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Like I said, we'll give you the main card. Give us your comments.
Do you have a dog this week?
My dog is Aljo. That's my dog.
Okay.
Going with Aljo. That's my boy right there. Plus 102, but I got him at plus 125. So let's not forget that.
Okay.
125. So that's my dog of the week. I will tell you this. There's a rule that I make. Death, taxes, and Aljamain Sterling. Give me Aljo or give me death in every fight. So you guys may not agree with me. You guys may think I'm biased, but I stick to what works. And like I said, he's won me the most money. I've put my largest wagers on him, and I've won my most money with him. So we'll see if he can do it again. It's not going to last forever. He is 36, 37 years old. We only got a small window to enjoy some Aljo money. This could be the end, but maybe we got a couple more we could squeak out of him. So comment below, like the channel, subscribe to the channel. Let me know if you like the new format with the main card breakdown at least. I know you guys were complaining about that. And if you do like it and we get enough of comments and enough of likes and enough of views, we will absolutely do main card breakdowns going forward. So